Hi, welcome to Crafting at Home with Tully. My name is David and today we're going to be doing a really special one. We're actually going to be doing some pumpkin carving. Now, I do apologise for the audio. I'm actually in my kitchen today because it's slightly easier to clean up than my usual room. Now, for this craft, there's one thing that you'll definitely need. A pumpkin. Now, there's a lot of other bits that we're going to use today. You will need a grown-up to help with some of these bits because one of the things that you will need to do is actually cut part of the pumpkin with a knife. If you're using a sharp knife, you need to make sure that you ask for a parent's permission or you get the parent to help, because with a sharp knife, we really don't want anyone to cut themselves. You've got to be extra careful when you're using these sort of things. Now, because of that, I also have some really useful tools. I have a tool like this, which is actually made for carving pumpkins. And they are really useful. But if you don't have one of these, don't worry. Another good option is to actually draw the design on the pumpkin, and then you can ask a grown-up to cut it out. And that'll be really good because it'll be exactly what you want and it'll be carved very carefully. You'll also need some spoons. Now, I again have a scoop from a pumpkin carving set, but if you don't have one, don't worry. I've also got a normal soup spoon, absolutely perfectly useful in carving pumpkins. A couple of other things you'll need as well: a basin or something to put all of the inside bits of the pumpkin in, because without that, it's going to go all over the table, all over the floor, and it'll be really messy. So we are going to get started. And actually, the first thing that we suggest to do when you're carving a pumpkin is to give it a quick clean, because it's been sitting around and it might have bits of dirt left on it and stuff like that. So it's actually a really good idea to give it a quick clean, either with soapy water or just a normal bit of cleaning spray like this. So I'll just quickly wipe all this off, and it just cleans off a little extra layer of kind of grubbiness, and it means that the pumpkin lasts a little bit longer. Oh, now I have a bit of a wet pumpkin, so I'm going to just grab a tea towel and quickly dry my pumpkin off. And there we go, it's now a nice orange colour for a pumpkin. Perfect. I'll just quickly dry around that. There we go. So, first thing you need to do before you start thinking about what you're going to carve on your pumpkin is actually get the lid off it. So I'm going to very carefully with the sharp knife just stab in there and carefully lever it. And as you can see, I'm keeping my fingers well out of the way. The only finger that's near it is behind the sharp part of the blade. Once I get to about there, I'll do the same, and I'll actually turn the pumpkin so that I get the best grip on the pumpkin that I can without putting any of my fingers at risk. It is very important when you're carving things to keep your fingers well out of the way of any sharp bits. Now, it's a real shame that we're not able to do this in Tully this year, but we've really enjoyed previous years, but then we've gone and got hundreds of pumpkins, had lots and lots of people in doing them, but this is a really fun way for me to show you how I do it at home. Now you can see it's starting to come off, so I'm just going to grab my spoon and just see if I can wiggle it in. I might need to use this one to just lever it out a little. Always the start of it is always hard to get it off. But I think it's just caught on a few bits. There we go. Oh, fantastic. Now, next thing you need to do is start scooping out your pumpkin. So I'm actually going to grab my bucket and just pop it behind here. And I'm actually going to sort the lid first. It's really easy to do the lid, because the best way to do it is just to hold it and either get the grown-up or very carefully do this and just cut most of that gloopy stuff off. And you'll see now my pumpkin is mostly clean. That's just going to go in there, and I'm going to sort that out. I might make some pumpkin soup later with this. Now, you'll see there's still holes where the seeds are, and we don't really want them in. Because if those are in, it means that the pumpkin can start to rot. So we want it to be as clean as possible. So I'm actually going to go in with my soup spoon and scrape away another couple of layers of the pumpkin flesh. And we're actually going to do this inside as well. So the actual scooping of the pumpkin can take a while, but your pumpkin needs to be super clean inside. The cleaner the better. So there we go. That is much better. I might even scoop a little bit more of that off later. It depends how good it looks. And also a thin top means that it's going to be a little bit safer when you put a candle in. So I'm just going to pop this one to one side and grab my pumpkin. Now obviously I've got a hole in the top, which is perfect for me to start shoving my hand in and scooping bits out. The best way to do it is actually do it from the top. So you start scooping around this top edge first, just because it makes it a little bit easier to get your hand in later. Because if you go straight in, you're going to get pumpkin goo everywhere. I know that from experience. So it's best to scoop out from the top and slowly scoop your way down inside the pumpkin. Now, as you can see, I've got a load of goop in here now, so I'm just going to shove my hand in and start pulling it out. Now then, I think I'm going to keep scooping for a bit, and I will join you in a few minutes when I've scooped out a little bit more. See you in a second. Welcome back everyone. I have just finished scooping out my pumpkin. I just thought I would make sure that the lid fitted properly, so I've just popped the lid back on as well. And the lid is absolutely fine. Brilliant. So that's why if you look at my lid, I've actually cut it a weird angle because then I can put it back on really, really easily. Now, my carving, the inside, my scooping out has gone really well. And if you look carefully inside, I've scooped out most of the innards. There's none of the stringy bits, there's none of the seeds, and it's mostly just the flesh left, which is great. That's exactly what you need. You need to make sure it's as clean as possible, because if you leave all the stringy bits, they start to rot inside the pumpkin, and that's when your pumpkin will start going off, and it'll be really, really gross. So, this is the best part. This is the most fun bit for me. I really enjoy it. You need to decide where you're going to put your face, or what design you're going to put on, and how you're going to do it. So I've been looking at this pumpkin and it seems to lean backwards a little bit. So it's like leaning this way. So I think this panel here, this bit here, is perfect for a pumpkin's face. That's where I'm going to use. Now I've brought down just a normal marker pen. I'd always suggest a marker pen or a board pen, because if you use a Sharpie or permanent marker or something like that, you won't be able to clean it off as easily if you make a mistake. So I'm going to use this to quickly draw my design, and then I know what I'm going to carve. Now, of course, you will have loads more time at home, so you can go really extravagant with your designs. Very exciting, I'm sure. And there's lots of amazing ones online. I am super jealous when people do ones that are like faces, really intricate ones, but I do like a good classic triangle eyes and big toothy mouth, just like that. So I'm now going to start carving. Just going to pop my pen away so it doesn't get covered in pumpkin, because that would be annoying. And I'm going to just show you how these sort of ones work. So you can see it's got like a saw blade on it. So what you do is you poke it in and you just saw it, and then you do it again. Now you'll see as I do this, some of the pen is starting to smudge. That's absolutely fine. Once I've cut this eye out, I can actually clean that pen off really, really easily. Just with a bit of water on a bit of kitchen towel or a bit of spray. Now there we go. So that's one eye nicely cut out. And if I don't like it, I can always make it a little bit bigger. I can neaten up the inside to make it thinner on the inside, which makes it a little bit easier to see as well. So I'm going to do the same with this eye here. And I've just realised as I'm carving this one, I've forgotten to put on a triangle nose. So I'm just going to I might have to stop for a second and grab my pen again, because otherwise I'll be left with a pumpkin that doesn't have a nose. So that's quite a good looking pumpkin already. Now I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to sort out the nose as well. So if I do this one first, I can work out where the best place for my pumpkin's nose is. I think Halloween is my favourite time of year. I like all the spooky things. What I'm going to do with my mouth, I'm actually not going to do the whole thing as one. I'm going to cut off little triangles as I go. It makes it actually a lot easier than cutting out the entire mouth at once. And it still looks just as good. Now, as you start getting to the end of this, you might need to start putting your hand or get an adult or someone to help, because this will start wobbling as the pumpkin gets thinner and thinner. But that's okay. Now you'll see I've got quite small teeth there. They're getting bigger, so I need to actually make these teeth a little bit smaller. Otherwise, I'll have a pumpkin's grin that goes really, really odd. But it's when you do your pumpkins, they can go any which way you want and however you want. This is what's great about pumpkins. You can make them into any sort of spooky or not spooky thing. And it's really, really fun. Now I'm on to the last tooth now, which is great. I just need to... And then the next thing I'm going to start doing, after I've done the wee nose, is just neaten it up a little bit. I'm just going to pop that down, clean off my hands, and grab my pen just to make sure that I get the nose in the right shape. But otherwise, I'll do something really bizarre and it'll end up completely the wrong shape for what I want. There we go. Now, obviously, if you don't want to draw on, if you just want to go for it, go for it. There is no pressure to have to draw things on or have to do anything. This is your pumpkin. You can do it exactly how you want, which is the best thing. So I'm just going to very carefully, because this bridge here between the nose and the mouth is going to be very thin. So I need to be extra careful when I'm cutting near that. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly spray my cloth and just wipe all of that those little bits of residue off, and just clean those pen marks. And we'll see how that pumpkin is looking. Oh, that's very spooky. I'm a big fan of this pumpkin. So I think it's going to need a little bit of scooping inside just to clear up these little bits. You can see maybe that there's some bits that are sticking out and things like that. So that's going to be a little bit of a job. And also I might use the sharp knife just to clean up these little bits where the pen got on the pumpkin. So, got my spoon. And all I need to do inside is just carefully run the spoon around a bit. Don't worry if you knock out teeth doing this or anything like that. That just gives your pumpkin more character. Makes it look spookier. One thing I'm really looking forward to as well is seeing all your pumpkins. If you want to put them on online, or if someone wants to take photos and put them on Facebook, it's always great seeing what other people have done for their pumpkins. Gives me good ideas for next year. Now I think I've scooped out most of those bits that I needed to scoop. There's a little bit left at the bottom, so I'll just grab that. Just there. So that's going to look a lot better now that he's got less of the bits. There's a few more bits, but I might need to just wipe them out because they don't seem to be stuck on. I'm just going to very carefully with the sharp knife, just slice these bits a little bit. And also if I do this, it'll mean that the light comes out in a different way. Makes it look a bit more spooky. Do-do-do. There we go. Now obviously I've seen people who do these and they've actually painted their pumpkin. That's a really cool way to do it as well. So the possibilities with pumpkin carving are basically endless, which is great. Now I just need to do this little bit along the top of the mouth and then my pumpkin is nearly done. Now there's one last thing that you'll need to get for your pumpkin. And that is a candle to go inside and light it up. So, if you just give me 2 seconds, I'll be back shortly with a finished pumpkin ready to light. Welcome back. Now, as you can tell, it's got a bit darker in here. And we're about ready to test out whether this candle works. So, I have a tea light. And I've got my spooky pumpkin. So I'm going to put my tea light in my pumpkin. I've got a long lighter, which is actually probably the safest way to light one of these, because I can actually light it from outside the pumpkin very easily. I'm going to turn off my lamp. I'm going to light the pumpkin and we'll see how spooky this pumpkin can be. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. So I'll put the lid on as well. Oh, the candle's lighting quite well. Just takes a couple of seconds and then it's looking absolutely fantastic. Nice spooky pumpkin ready for Halloween. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again for another episode of Crafting at Home with Tully.